Hello, in this video I'm going to be comparing the Oral-B IO to the Oral-B Genius Pro 8000. I'll be giving you my verdict on which brush to pick and why, and I'll also be listing out all of the key differences between these two electric toothbrushes. So before I get into all of the details, I want you to know that there's a full written comparison that accompanies this video that is linked in the description below. It'll go into a lot more detail than I cover in this video alone. So which brush do I recommend you buy out of these two? Well, my recommendation is the Oral-B IO. From a design and technological point of view, the Oral-B IO is superior. It's also considerably more user-friendly in my opinion. Now, both of these toothbrushes clean the teeth really well, make no mistake about it, but as an overall package, the IO is the better of the two brushes. So what are the key differences then? Well, there's quite a few, so allow me to run through them. I'll try and be quick and succinct. So as you will see, the two brushes look quite different. Okay, they share the same sort of design ethos. You can't get away from that too much with an electric toothbrush, but you should be able to see that the IO looks the more premium of the two brushes, and it certainly feels it in hand. It's a much cleaner looking toothbrush with less controls and icons on the front of the brush handle, and there's less rubber grips on the handle as well. It certainly looks the more expensive toothbrush. So both of these brushes come in 4 different colour options. The 8000 is available in black, white, orchid purple and rose gold, compared to the IO that comes in white alabaster, onyx black, rose quartz and violet amatine. So built into the brush handle of the IO is a display. It's a colour display on the Series 7 and Series 8, but it's a black and white display on the Series 7 IO. Now that display allows you and I to interact with the brush handle, and it's one of the ways in which the design of the brush handle is being cleaned up. Whereas the Genius Pro 8000 has all of the cleaning mode icons on the front of the brush handle, these have now transitioned to the display on the toothbrush. So you interact with the screen via the power and mode button, and you can select the appropriate modes as well as change various other settings for the toothbrush there as well. That same screen provides some useful feedback post brushing, such as smiley and sad faces based on how long you've been brushing for. A significant difference between these two devices is the motor inside the brush handle. Now, ultimately, this doesn't mean a great deal to you and me as the users. It still provides an excellent clean, but it has been redesigned from the ground up on the IO. A consequence of this new motor is that it is quieter. It's about 10 decibels quieter than the motor on the Genius Pro 8000, so the IO is a little bit more pleasant to use. It's also changed the cleaning sensation slightly. The IO feels a little bit softer, and the brushes both have 3 dimensions to their cleaning action. There's the oscillating, rotating cleaning action of the small round brush head, but the IO has something called micro vibrations compared to the pulsations on the Genius Pro 8000. They essentially do the same job. It's a bit of a technicality, but the actual cleaning experience is very good on both of them, and you'll be left with superbly clean teeth if you use the brushes correctly. So depending on exactly which variant of the IO you pick up, you will get either 2, 3 or 4 ultimate clean brush heads included in the box. With the Genius Pro 8000, you get 3 brush heads included in the box. You get 1 cross action, 1 3D white and 1 sensitive. Now, both brushes have small round brush heads on them, but the brush heads for the IO have been redesigned slightly, and this does mean that the brush heads are not interchangeable. So previously, where you've been able to use any of Oral-B's electric toothbrush heads on any of their toothbrush handles, the brush heads for the IO are now exclusive to the IO series of handles, so they're not interchangeable. Now, both brushes offer a number of different cleaning modes, but the IO offers 7 cleaning modes in total compared to the 6 modes of the Genius Pro 8000. They're similar and achieve the same sort of results. It's just been reworked slightly with the redesign of the IO. The 7 modes on the IO are Daily Clean, Gum Care, Sensitive, Super Sensitive, Whitening, Intense and Tongue Clean, compared to the Daily Clean, Gum Care, Sensitive, Whitening, Pro Clean and Tongue Clean on the Genius Pro 8000. Now, both toothbrushes have a visible pressure sensor. This will light up red when you brush the teeth with too much force. Now this sensor is located at the top of the brush handle. It's an LED ring that's going to light up red. But the sensor in the I/O is a little bit smarter in that it will also light up green. And this green light is to indicate that you're brushing with the correct amount of pressure. This is a feature not available on the Genius Pro 8000. Another subtle difference with the pressure sensor on these two brushes is that with the Pro 8000, if you are brushing too hard, in addition to the red light coming on, the sound of the motor will change, acting as another notification to yourself that you're brushing too hard. You don't get this sound change with the Oral-B I/O. Now, both brushes offer some form of real-time tracking around your cleaning. However, the way it is implemented on the I/O is considerably smarter and more effective than the Genius Pro 8000. The I/O has AI and 3D teeth tracking, and essentially what that means is sensors in the brush handle linked up to the smartphone application can track the exact position of the toothbrush in your mouth. Via a graphic on screen, you will see the colour of the teeth change from quite a dull through to a bright white colour as you brush each surface of the tooth for the recommended amount of time. Now, the Genius Pro 8000 does a similar thing, but it relies on a front-facing camera on your smartphone to track the position of the toothbrush in your mouth. Now, this does subsequently mean that the Genius Pro 8000 comes with a smartphone holder included in the box. This suction cup style holder will hold the smartphone up in front of your face. Now, the reality is that the tracking is considerably more accurate on the I/O. It's considerably more user-friendly in terms of the way you set it up. And you don't have to stand perfectly still with the I/O like you did with the Genius Pro 8000. So whilst the apps are similar, they are configured slightly differently based on these two different toothbrushes. So as you can tell, the I/O is the better solution here. Both brushes come with a charging stand included in the box. However, the one with the I/O is superior. This round magnetic charging stand, as the name implies, magnetizes the toothbrush handle to the charging stand. That's a feature that you don't get with the Genius Pro 8000. You get Oral-B's more conventional charging stand because the I/O has a whole new design of charger for this particular model. And that redesign has also meant that the charging time has changed. The I/O can be charged in as little as 3 hours from 0 to full charge, whereas the Genius Pro 8000 can take up to 12 hours on its charging stand. Linked to the charging is, of course, the battery. Both have lithium-ion batteries built in, but the feedback of the battery status information on the I/O is much better. The Genius Pro 8000 has a battery status icon on the front of the brush handle. Broken down into 3 bars, it gives you a bit of information on how much power is remaining, and it will also flash red when the power is pretty low. With the I/O, this information is displayed on screen instead, and you get much more feedback. You get 10% increments, so you don't get, 67%, for example. You'll get 70, 80, 90% power remaining, along with a textual percentage and a battery icon. So you get more detailed feedback from the Oral-B I/O in terms of how much power is remaining. Now, both of these have rechargeable batteries built in, but the I/O's battery life is significantly better. Both have a claimed battery life of around about 2 weeks, but the Genius Pro 8000 usually tops out around 16 days, whereas the I/O in my hands-on testing was getting anywhere between 5 and 7 weeks, which is significantly better than the claimed battery life and, of course, the Genius Pro 8000. So both brushes come with a travel case, and both of those cases allow the toothbrush to be charged inside the case, but there are some significant differences. I personally think the case provided with the Oral-B Genius Pro 8000 is the more robust case. It feels more premium. It does also have a USB port built into it, so you could charge a different device at the same time as you charge your toothbrush. The case also allowed you to hold the brush handle and 2 brush heads. Now compare this to the case with the Oral-B I/O that holds just 1 handle and 1 brush head. And it also feels a little bit lighter and thinner in terms of its actual overall construction. There's more plastics here, whereas the Genius Pro 8000 case felt a little bit more premium with softer touch materials on parts of the case. That Genius Pro case also had a smartphone holder built in as well. Coming to the end of the differences then now, the Genius Pro 8000 does also come with a brush head storage compartment. You don't get this with the IO. That compartment held up to 4 brush heads, and it had a lid that would go over the top to protect them from splashes and things, and it would fit round the charging stand to provide a neat countertop solution. So coming to the last of the differences now, and that is the price. The recommended retail price of the IO is $299 US or 360 Canadian dollars. Compare that to the $200 to $250 of the Genius Pro 8000 or the 270 Canadian dollars of the Pro 8000. The reality is that both brushes sell with at least 20 to 25% off the retail price, so the cost of ownership does come down. But when you factor in the cost of replacement brush heads, that can have a bearing on the overall ownership cost. The IO comes in around about 28 US cents per day or 37 Canadian cents per day over 3 years, compared to the Genius Pro 8000, which comes in at around about 22 cents per day US or 25 cents per day Canadian. So those are the key differences between the Oral-B IO and the Genius Pro 8000. As I suggested at the start of this video, there's a full written comparison that accompanies this video, linked in the description below. If you found this video useful, be sure to give it a thumbs up. For more videos like this, click subscribe. But until next time, thanks for watching.